Welcome to the final episode of Shelf Life. As we close out 2024, I'm going to look back one more time at games I covered 6 or 7 months ago and let you know whether they're still in my collection. This time I'm talking about games from May of this year, and there were a whole bunch of them. Let's see which of them had shelf life. So starting in the crowdfunding corner, we've got Children of Morta, the adaptation of the video game. And this one is a sort of bag builder, adventure game, kind of roguelite-ish. And at least in the form I played in the prototype, I did not like it that much. I didn't find the choices of how you kind of put out your tokens to trigger your powers to be very interesting. And actually, you know what? Looking at this, I realized how similar some of the mechanics here are to Invincible, the hero building game. And I found that one much more kind of exciting in play and combos than this one. But who knows how it'll turn out after development. But for now, Children of Morta is not one I'm very interested in. But on the other end of things is Unstoppable. And man, I love this one, or at least loved what I played. Although this one was pretty much finished, I think. So I can't imagine what the final product will be too much different from what I played. But yeah, this is a John D. Clare style card builder where you're sliding cards into sleeves together. But it's also got some warp edge feelings where you're like defeating enemies to get bonuses. And when you upgrade your cards, you're also upgrading the enemies on the other side. The scenarios are very different. Yeah, I just adored this one. I hope it comes out soon in 2025. I hope that it gets expansions or more content. I want to play more of this one as soon as possible. That's Unstoppable. Next is the Secrets of Zorro, which is a cooperative little Zorro adventure game, sort of a pandemic-ish like crisis management game, but you're leveling up and gaining these action cards and then playing them in combats, and that part was pretty fun. But the rest of the game was just kind of ho-hum. It didn't seem like it had a lot of content or variety in play. But again, this is another one that could be developed more before it is finished. So yeah, Secrets of Zorro is kind of in the same place as Children of Morta. Not too exciting for me. Next is Wastelandia, and I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit. This is a boss battler dice placement game, so maybe the closest corollary would be like Dice Throne, but I think this one has some really cool stuff going on. The dice choices and the cooperation are really good. The boss variety is fun. The theme is pretty quirky, but I found it interesting, and you level up with extra cards that give you more cool combos as the game goes along. It's not like my favorite game of the year, but I certainly wouldn't mind playing this one again. That is Wastelandia. Then we have Mining Colony, was it 415 2nd edition, the Gabe Barrett solo hunted game. And, you know, I'm realizing I think this came out. I think this delivered, so it probably shouldn't be in the crowdfunding section, should it? But I did not, or wait, did I keep it? Maybe I did keep it. Crud. Yeah, my entire paradigm is messed up here. But I will say I think Mining Colony is still maybe my second favorite hunted. I really liked the recent one. I forget what the subtitle was, but the one where you're fighting Jekyll and Hyde and Dracula, or, you know, kind of those kind of things. I thought that was maybe the best one. Haunted Castle? Was that what it was? I don't know. But yes, but I think Mining Colony is still my second favorite one. I really like the token flipping. Now, in the second edition, they gave an alternative way to do it, and I actually found that less interesting for my personal taste. But still, I think this is a solid entry in the Hunted series. One of my favorites, definitely worth checking out, and second edition is the best way to do so. So that's, released, called, kept, I don't really know, but Hunted Mining Colony 415 second edition. And finally, this was a busy crowdfunding month. We have Rove, not Rove, the 18-card button shot game that I love, but a big kind of boss battler, a squad battle campaign game. This is from the team that did the fan campaign for Gloomhaven. This is their own system. There are some Gloomhaven influences here, of course. But this is a cool one. I had a good time with it. I thought the way enemies activate, which is pretty predictable, was pretty neat. The way your characters level up and like kind of change classes over time. There's a lot of resources, and you're flipping cards to less and more powerful sides and firing off like big combo attacks and stuff. Now, it is another big campaign tactical game, and that's a pretty crowded field. And this year especially has seen a ton of games that are amazing. So will Rove kind of rise to the pack or distinguish itself? It's hard to say that so far, but there's another one that I'm interested in playing more of. But that's enough of Rove. Let's get to the released games. And first for those is the Dutch Resistance, Orange Shall Overcome, a cooperative game of trying to resist Nazi influence during World War II in Holland. And yeah, I thought this game was actually really good. Now, I did cull it because it's a bit of crisis management-y gameplay that is not my favorite, but I thought the different characters and the varied actions was really cool. And I loved the theme and the narrative elements and sort of the stealth gameplay of trying to avoid patrols and having like little encounters with them and stuff with this card-based system. Just really cool things. Nice scenario variety too. So this game is is great if you're into this kind of gameplay. That is the Dutch Resistance Orange Shell Overcome. Next is Kinfire Chronicles, not Kinfire Delve, but the big cooperative sort of boss battle one. And this one I thought was better than I expected. When I previewed this, I was so bummed out about the initiative bag that I kind of didn't give the rest of the game much of a chance. But having played through the whole campaign once it arrived, I think the game is actually really, really good and a ton of fun. It does some really cool stuff, has a beautiful organizational system if you're playing with 1 or 2 people. If you're playing with 3 or 4, oof, I think that initiative bag is such a rough system that you should probably avoid this one. I played with 4. Just to give you an example, I had 2 fights in a row where my wife did nothing, never got a turn. And yeah, that's a hard sell when you're trying to get your family to play a game. So this one I think is, again, great for 1 or 2 players. Not too long of a campaign. You can finish it in a bunch of sessions. The story is fun. The card play is cool. Just, yeah, don't play a too high a player count because that initiative bag will make you hate your life. So that's Kinfire Chronicles. That was a call as well. But then we get to an absolute keeper. That's Leviathan Wilds, one of my favorite games of the year, easily. I love the cooperative card play of this one. The variety of Leviathans you can climb over, each with their own cool different things going on. It's just an amazing game, and one that I think will stay in my collection for years and years to come because there's so much variety and different ways to kind of play around with the game. I just adore Leviathan Wilds. So yeah, definitely a keep for that. And we got another keep, 2 in a row. Next is Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, another game I really enjoyed this year. Now, I do not think it's as good of a full Gloomhaven experience as Jaws of the Lion. That's still my favorite one for not having a ridiculously long campaign, but still having like that good Gloomhaven tactical experience. This one actually has kind of a, I think, cooler way of doing enemies than base Gloomhaven, but the big negative is that you only have 1 character and you're not going to have like the cool combos of abilities and things. But that being put aside, I think this is great for a quick Gloomhaven fix, and it's so small that I might as well keep it. It's taking up almost no room in my shelves, so Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, a keeper. But turning around to a call, we've got Goblin Vaults. And this is actually a solid game. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I don't think solo is the best way to play it, but sort of the weird like mix of bidding, not really trick-taking, and like area majority. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe this game. It's fairly unique. I thought it was a lot of fun in competitive play, but my game groups just had a hard time grasping this one. Again, I think it's just a little bit out there in how the game works. It's interesting to compare this one to another one from the same publisher this year, Stone Spine Architects, which I loved and has been a hit in a lot of groups I've played it with. It's a little bit more of a straightforward game, I think, for people. But still, Goblin Vaults, great game. No complaints about it. Just didn't work for my group, so it is a call. Next is Ironwood, the 1v1 or solo game from Mind Clash, and this one is another call. I did enjoy the multiplayer play, the competitive play for this one a lot. I think the factions are very different. The card play for actions and combat is great. But in terms of solo play, I didn't love the implementation of the automa. They're a little bit, I've talked about this in other places, I think they're a little bit dumb in some of the priorities, like I would have made different choices in the design. You have to ramp up the difficulty in ways that I find unsatisfying to make them competitive. But again, I think the competitive play is good. It's just that for a like sort of squad control game like this, I already own Tyrants of the Underdark and Summoner Wars. Both those offer more kind of variety in the factions you can control. And actually I have other games like this as well. So yeah, this one just didn't have a place in my collection, but if you're going to get it for 1v1, I think it's an easy recommend. It's a lot of fun. That's Ironwood. Then for something completely different, we've got One Card Maze. Now what you're seeing here is the prototype, just print and play version that I played with, but the final version did deliver, and this is a awesome concept for a game. And there's another one it's just wallets. It's the tiniest thing ever, even though they sent me like, I think it was 4 wallets worth. It takes up no space anywhere. So this one is a keeper just because it's so small, but I also enjoy it. My kids have fun with it. It's a cool thing just to throw down and like try to beat a little puzzle maze thing for a couple of minutes. So yeah, One Card Maze, another recommend. This one's great. And speaking of great, May was a good month. Slay the Spire. I covered this in May as well. This game is, well, it's Peter's copy of the game, but it's one of those games where if he tried to get rid of it, I would be the one to buy it from him because I think it is awesome. Now, I said this in my review. I'll say it again here. It is very similar to the video game, and I find the video game faster to play. So I prefer the video game for solo. I already have it on multiple devices, so it's easy to access. But if you want to play the game cooperatively, and it does an amazing job with co-op play, or if you don't have easy access or don't want to play digital games, then this one is great. One of the best deck building cooperative games out there. Tons of fun. That's Slay the Spire, the board game. And our last one for the month, unfortunately a cull for me, is Primal The Awakening. Now, this is a great game. So many people on our Discord just adore this one and play it all the time. I actually personally enjoyed it quite a lot, but I found it a little bit brain-burny. It was more than I wanted to track and deal with in solo play. And man, my cooperative groups just did not gel with this one. And even for me, trying to keep track of like the behaviors and when the monster does stuff and having them interrupt your turns a lot or having them kind of cancel your turn, just a lot of pain points here for our groups. Now, I think if you're willing to put in the time, this can be one of the top games ever. That's certainly the case for, again, many people I've talked to. But yeah, for me, I just didn't have enough joy in it, so it was gone pretty quickly. That is Primal The Awakening. One more call. So yeah, wow, there were some great games in May, some of my favorites of the year, and I kept a bunch of them, 4 out of 7 of the actual release games. But let's see which of you figured that out and did well in the contest. The first in Group 1, Leviathan Wilds was the confident choice of 71% of you. Kinfire Chronicles got 18%, and none of them only got 9%, so people were sure I'd keep at least one of those games. And when Orange Shell comes, sorry, I don't want to forget you, only got 2%. Group 2, none of them was the big winner, unfortunately, because I did keep Buttons and Bugs, which was follow-up, 41%, and Goblin Vaults only got 6% of the votes here. In Group 3, none of them got 55%. Ironwood got 37%. This was the big spoiler group, obviously. One Card Maze only got 8%, so that took out a whole bunch of you who had 3 instead of 4 right. And finally, Group 4 was, again, pretty confident. Slay the Spire, 63%. Primal, 20%, and only 17% said none of them. And that leaves us with 2 potential winners who got all of them right. I think we've seen, I know Ryan's won at least a couple times before. Not sure. I think Frank might have won at least once, too. Neither of them is a Patreon supporter, so it's just straight odds. 1-3 for Frank, 4-6 for Ryan. And here we go. It's a 5. Which means Ryan wins again. Get out of my brain, Ryan. I don't know how you can predict these things so well. But thanks, everybody, for entering and for watching. And if you want to enter the January contest, the link is in the video description. We'll see you at the next episode of Shelf Life.